Welcome back to Digitize Your Biz. I am Colette Prince, and if you've just joined us, we are looking at digital marketing and its importance for your business. We're still in studio with the Director of Algorithms Agency, Ashley Watts. So Ashley, before the break, we were just breaking down what digital marketing is and what SMEs should consider before moving into the digital space. So it seems like there is a lot of groundwork that needs to be done beforehand. What do you think constitutes a good digital marketing strategy?
So I think firstly with that you need to understand what channels exist and where, obviously, like I was mentioning earlier, just around where your consumers are currently sitting at the moment. But when it comes to strategy, it needs to have focus. So you need to understand where the opportunities are, and you need to understand how you're going to tackle those opportunities itself. So as an example, as a small business, if you're going, I have a brand new website but it can't be found. You then need to understand what are the opportunities out there, what are people searching for, and how can I start optimizing my platform or my website or my e-commerce site to be able to start being more visible for that. That's when you start looking at the likelihoods of search engine optimization as an example, and you need to understand what do I need to do throughout that process to ensure that I become more visible in the online space. And how do I go about doing that? So as an example, one of the biggest things is around what type of content am I starting to serve on my website, and what type of content am I serving across all my platforms, even my social platforms, and how is that interlinking back to my overall strategy that I want to have to start being more visible out there and start selling more products and driving more traffic to those platforms. So that becomes extremely important around it. You need to be focused. You need to make sure you know what is going to work and what not going to work, and utilize data. That's probably one of the biggest things that you're going to be doing.
I also feel as though for businesses a big misconception is that they feel that they need to be in every single platform.
100%.
That you need to be in Facebook, Twitter, on YouTube, and that's not the case as you've just mentioned.
No, they obviously offer an extreme opportunity for you. So if you in the content space as an example, where you're looking at Facebook and Twitter and a lot of those, if you have the ability to curate and create a lot of content, it will then give you the opportunity to speak to the masses. But also, what you got to remember is Facebook, Twitter, they're also businesses itself, and they have to make money. So the only way to maximize the amount of reach that you get through those platforms is by paying for it. So you may have a Facebook page, as an example, that has 100 million people on it, but for every post that you actually do organically, and when I say organically, is you're not paying for, you're probably only reaching about 1 or 2 or 3 up to 5% of those people. In order to reach the rest of them on your page, you actually have to physically pay for it. So if your platform's not going to work for you and you don't have the right content and the way that you create that content to serve it to them, then it's not going to be an opportunity that's going to drive you to actually make money from that platform. So you need to pick your weapons. And
as a digital marketing agency, how do you measure the effectiveness of digital marketing campaigns for your clients? So, for instance, using search engine optimization to collect data to see where your clients should be spending more of their energies.
Yeah, so the most important thing when it comes to that is around reporting. You have a look at your marketing strategy itself, and you need to start integrating that data that exists in every single one of those channels and making into understanding of that data so that you can actually start optimizing your marketing campaigns itself. So as an example, you have a look at what is happening on Facebook, you have a look at what is happening on Twitter, how many people are visiting your site, what type of people are visiting your site, what are their interests, where they're coming from, and you start pulling that data together into one central place so it actually makes sense for you. You can create a story of what's working and what's not working, and then you have the ability to adjust your marketing strategy according to that. So as an agency ourselves, we build dashboards where we then start pulling in all those different data points from all your different channels, and then we make sense out of it for a human, and then we have the ability to then translate that into what does that mean for your digital ecosystem, and how can you change your marketing strategies to start driving better results from those platforms itself. And in a lot of the cases, sometimes it's certain platforms are not performing, so you need to cut it out of your marketing and stop wasting time and stop wasting budget on it.
I know you have a physical example in terms of a report, or what a report would look like for a business in terms of what you've just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one that I'm going to bring up here is what is known as an e-commerce report. So when I talk e-commerce, I'm looking at brands such as your Take-A-Lot and so forth, where you have the ability to order online, and you then have the ability from that point there is obviously to get delivery and things like that. So what we then call this is an e-commerce report, and this basically then pulls in all the information coming through from your e-commerce site itself. So you start having a look at everything from the entry point at which someone comes into your site to the point at which they then purchase. Now, treat that as not being a conversion funnel. So the point in which they come in is at the top of the funnel. The point at which they actually then purchase something is at the bottom and is known as a conversion. So what you want to do is you want to obviously get people through that funnel and make sure that they're converting as quickly as possible and not dropping off of that funnel for any given point itself. So we have the ability to start having a look at firstly the users that come into the site. So as an example here, on this one here, we can look at certain transactions that's happening through from the site. Where did they come from in South Africa? Okay, where did that revenue come from? What city was it in? How are those people converting as well? So what is the conversion rates across different areas, different people, different audiences, and also different channels that are driving traffic through to your e-commerce site itself? But most importantly, what we then start to have a look at is the shopping funnel itself. So we can start having a look at that shopping flows. You saying you are utilizing Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Ads. You're having a look at maybe some of your PR or your offline media that's starting to drive traffic through to your website. And from that point, they're then coming through, starting at the top, and they're working their way through that conversion funnel. And what we do is we start mapping that into a shopping flow, which has the ability to say everyone's coming in from the top of the funnel, they're working their way, and people are starting to drop off at certain points of that funnel. And we can see at what percentage people are dropping off. So as an example here, what we're looking at, add to cart, 3,971 people added to cart, but there was a 62% drop off between adding to cart and checkout. Why? Why are those people dropping off of it? And that's when we can start having a look at maybe it's a technical issue that's happening. Maybe it's they actually have a problem with the way that they're trying to pay for their products. Maybe it is that there's a problem with shipping, getting into certain regions or things like that. So we have then an opportunity to start investigating that and say, let's take that 62% and drop it down to 10%. Now imagine how much more profitable a business would be if we had the ability to do that. So it becomes extremely important for us to then treat that funnel as what are your marketing tactics need to be from a technical perspective, and also why are people dropping off within a sales funnel. And it becomes extremely important. So this type of is utilizing data points across every single one of your channels that you're doing and saying where do you need to put more budget, where do you need to focus everything, which becomes your marketing strategy essentially.
And just lastly, Ashley, this is all presuming that this business works online and works in the digital space already. What if you're a new SME and you don't know where to start in terms of digital marketing? What would your advice be on
Look,
that?
I'd always state to consulting with obviously an agency of some sorts to be able to get that background of what channels exist and how you can start optimizing your marketing tactics to move into that digital space. So obviously understand what are the platforms actually there for? And how can you start utilizing themselves? So an example, as a brand on a Facebook page, what is my requirements? What is the investment that I need to give as a business in order to actually start this rolling and start actually getting people and building audiences and things like that? But the next important thing to mostly understand is that who is your target audience? You need to then start having a look at that, taking your target audience and then start bringing them together and understanding where they are online, so that you can then start identifying exactly what platforms will work for you and how you're going to then start creating those pages that will work for you. That's probably the most important thing itself, is understanding your audience and where your audience is so you can start marketing and sending messages to them there.
Thank you, Ashley, so much for joining us and just breaking down and simplifying digital marketing and where businesses should optimize their digital strategies, or where business could start if they're a new agency starting from scratch. Awesome. Stay tuned to your screen, because after the break, I'm joined by two new guests in our Zoom room that operate in the digital space. See you after this.